in printers, I'm going to configure my Reform printer to give me a different option here. I'm going to check the box here for prompt for options, and that's just on the configuration of the Reform printer. I'm going to say OK and OK. Now when I go to print to it, let's pause this. Click on print. You can see it pops up this dialog, and it's just going to show me this directory here. Now, this dialog can be customized. If I wanted to, I can say dialog. I can edit it. So I'm just going to make this screen quick, and this is part of like the scripting editor. So I'm just going to save this as this specific file. This is the script that the print driver uses. I'm just going to print again to the Reform printer, and you see it brings up my dialog now as opposed to the default. And using the scripting language, just like I showed you before in the PowerPoint, let's say here it is. You can customize the script to do various options if you needed more interaction from the user. That dialog can be modified to look like this, where you can input different information for the archive system, the printer options, as well as the fax or email, so that when the user prints a document, they can enter an email address to send it to, or a fax number to fax the document to. That's one way to increase the amount of user interaction. And this is also done with the same scripting language. The other ability of the scripting language would be like connecting to a database, similar to TagDoc. You can search a database with the dialog as well as enter information to the database. So let's say, for instance, you had a dialog where you wanted to enter a fax number, but if you didn't know it, you can search the database for it. You could also incorporate that into your script for the dialog. That's more focused towards, I guess, the scripting class for Reform. Windows actually has the ability to use a print queue similar to Unix. So what I have here, as you can see, I have LPD Reform PRN queue. When I go to the properties, the ports here, you can see the port is set to 127.0.0.1, and that's just the IP address of the current machine. And then the port name, or the queue name, is Reform PRN. And you can see capital R and capital PRN. Now, if I have my LPD server here, and this is started, I'm just going to go to Setup and to Queues. And before, you can see I added Printer A. So I'm just going to take that out. I'm going to take out these other two queues. And I'm going to call this PRN like this, where it has lowercase. So this is where you just modify your queue lists for the LPD server. And if I say OK, you can see it has Q, reform PRN, and the status is ready. So I'm just going to use Notepad again and say File, Print. I'm going to print to that LPD server, the LPD print queue. When I print, I actually have it paused, so let's unpause that. You can see it says unknown queue, reform PRN. And this is something I wanted to point out before, is that when you're using the LPD server or any print queue, when you set up the server, it must match the name of the print queue exactly. So when you get an error similar to this where it says unknown queue, it just means you may have mistyped the queue name in the setup. So if I fix this to match the printer that I set up with capital PRN, I say OK. You can see it says receive the data and save the file. So what this actually does is, if you remember, I said in the miscellaneous directory you have the LPD server, the program itself, as well as the script. So if I open the script, actually I'll open it in the designer. I'm going to set my spooler directory. And let's do it. And here you can see the file that I printed was saved in my spooler directory. And the file name is reform PRN, which is the print queue, the machine that was printed from, and then the username. Now all of this information is available through the LPD server, and you can also set up different rules based on this, or different conditions. So let's say if the user Matt prints the document, you want it to go to his printer, while if Joe prints a document, you want to go to printer B. You can use this information here to make these type of conditions. Another use that I saw, or that I've seen, is using the LPD server with multiple queues. So let's say you have in your queue list printer A, printer B. When the user or when the server prints to the LPD server, you can use the queue name to essentially deliver it to the correct printer.